Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in this great big universe. My name is Helena, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Love Unlocked, where together we will decode the mysteries of the universe. So today we have a very special guest, Sara, a QHHT therapist, and she's going to teach us a lot about Dolores Cannon's work and what she does to help other people. So let's go ahead and bring her in. Hey, Sara, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. It sounds like you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yes.
last time we tried this, if you guys are watching, the last time we tried this, she couldn't hear me, and I'm just running off at the mouth. And she's like,
Right.
so I was just telling the viewers that your name is Sara. You are a
Yep.
QHHT therapist. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what it is that you do, how you got started, and what in the heck is QHHT?
So QHHT stands for Quantum Healing Hypnosis Therapy. And that was started from Dolores Cannon. She was a renowned hypnotherapist and past life regression. So for over 40 years, we take the client under hypnosis to, try to get them into the deepest level of trance that we can, which would be theta, if all goes well. And then we take them back to wherever their subconscious wants to take them. So back when Dolores was doing this, a lot more people went into past lives. But these days, because we're all becoming more conscious, sometimes that doesn't happen, but you still go to where you need to go to get the healing and, what you need to see. So a typical session starts out with a 2-hour interview. And that's when we go over basically like from your childhood to present day. And we just talk about your life and maybe what sorts of things that you've dealt with, trauma, experiences, and things like that. And a lot of times that could be really healing for the person as well as just having somebody to talk to about it. A lot of times people keep a lot inside for so long. So we do that, and then we actually perform the hypnosis part. And that's basically, I'm just like a guide. I'm not really doing anything other than helping them go to where their higher self subconscious wants to take them.
One thing that I was really excited to hear about, Sara, is that you can help your clients in one appointment. And
Yes.
that's pretty amazing, because how many times have we heard about, oh, well, let's go to therapy, let's find a coach or a therapist, and they want to sign you up for all this expensive ongoing stuff. But Sara, you can help people in one session, which is amazing. That must feel amazing for you to be able to do that for people. Can you tell us
Yeah.
why you're able to do that in just one session?
Sure. Actually, it's not actually me I'm helping them, but it's their own personal empowerment. It's their own higher self that's helping them. So it's just being able to get them to be in touch with that part of themselves that has all of the knowledge, has all of the healing, and has all the insight to help them heal themselves. And that's what I love best about it, is it's all about self-love, self-healing, self-empowerment.
What drew
So
you to QHHT? I have to ask, how did you get started? What pulled you into this?
So back in 2019, I went through a divorce. It was very hard, as anybody who's had to go through the process knows. And it actually caused me to what I believed to be go through a spiritual awakening. It drew me to Dolores Cannon's material, and I knew I wanted to do something more. So in 2022, I took a course which was called RTT, which was Rapid Transformational Therapy, and that is by Marissa Peer. And I became a certified hypnotherapist. And then the following 2023 in June, I found out that Dolores actually had an academy that they taught. Once I was already a hypnotherapist, then I found out that I could do this for other people, and it stuck. It was like new, it was my calling. So yeah, and
It
I
really
joined
felt
the,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So you mentioned Dolores Cannon. So I got to ask you, could you tell the viewers a little bit about what are the three waves of volunteers?
Sure, sure. So in Dolores's sessions, she had thousands of people, and so different people were all having the same experiences almost coming up. And the three waves of volunteers, she actually wrote a book on, and it's just different sessions with different people and their where they came from, basically. So the concept behind it is there was this call that went out in the universe because back in the 1940s, we were experimenting with nuclear power. And so the atomic bombs and things like that. And the thing is, with experimenting with things like that, anything that could have harmed Earth on that global scale could have a detrimental effect that kind of rippled out throughout the universe. So the beings that are watching us, I mean, people hopefully, that's kind of jarring to hear, but yeah, we're being watched. Earth is a fairly new planet in the grand scheme of the universe. And we do have free will here, but we are being watched so that we don't destroy ourselves, in turn destroying other universes, or creating anything bad that could happen by that ripple effect. So there was a call that went out, and basically any souls, they say, so this is the part, and again, I only know from what I've learned from Dolores, but they say they're pure souls, so souls that haven't been to Earth before. They could have been from any other planet, galaxy, dimension, or they could have came from source, but these are just pure loving souls that came here to help. So the first wave is kind of what they called the pioneers. They started the whole thing. They were born in the 1940s and 50s. They had the most challenging time because they were the first ones here. So they just couldn't really understand why there was so much destruction, or it just didn't feel right being here, but they tried to pave the way in that pure soul, loving being. The second waves, they were kind of more like they say like the antennas, the generators. Their job was to just
Antenna.
be. Yeah. So they're just gentle, loving. Again, everybody that came is a just this loving being, pure, and so just here to help. And they say they're just here to radiate love and positive energy, and just by being in the second wave's presence, people feel that energy, feel that positivity, and then that kind of um, goes outwards. And then the third wave is anybody from like 1980s and beyond that were born, and they're called many different things, crystal children, new children, indigos, all this stuff, but they're the ones that are already spiritually advanced. They're well on their way to just helping change the planet. We're here to evolve, and Earth itself is evolving. Earth is basically alive, and so
So that's the
that's
new Earth. Is that the new
right.
Earth? Can you tell the viewers a
Well,
little bit about what is the new Earth? Because I mean, I've studied a little bit of Dolores Cannon's work, but even when I hear people talk about New Earth, I get kind of stumped myself. Could you tell us
Yeah.
what that means?
Yeah. So New Earth is just a concept of, we're moving from 3D density, which is, you know, fear, control, a lot of duality, and then into a higher dimension, higher frequency consciousness planet, which would be the 5D. The way I understand it, because again, there's so much information out there. It You don't know what to believe because it hasn't happened yet. But I've seen the concept where it's almost like it's a superimposed Earth. So there's old Earth and then there's new Earth, and but they are different frequencies. So they're almost operating in different dimensions. And so the people that have the higher frequency of the love and everything else that goes along with New Earth will make the shift. And then people stuck in karma or negativity or just not fear too. Definitely fear keeps people trapped in that old density.
I think I'm
Um,
guilty of that.
I know. I used to be too. As I stopped watching TV. I think that helped a lot with the news and everything. God, just watching the news is like terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
Like every
Every
couple of minutes they'll throw in like, and so by the way, there's a war going on and then here's a dead body.
right. Right. And everything with, COVID. And so, people just have to remember that make their own decisions. Look things up for yourself, ask questions, because it's really easy to fall in the trap of fear. And really there's a you can't have this new earth energy in fear. So if people want to make that shift, then they have to try to work their way through that.
And QHHT can help with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely helpful because you're gonna kind of gain insights into your own psyche, and you learn things about yourself. I mean, during the hypnosis, the client, well, I should say they come with a list of questions, as many as they'd like, really, but they could ask questions of their higher self. Um, and that's gonna, so if they have questions around fear, phobias, current relationships, illnesses, anything like that, we can ask the higher self and get answers. So everything is coming from within.
So what are some of the things that QHHT could help me with? Like if I wanted to have an appointment, could
Sure.
we look at whether or not I'm a uh one of the three waves of volunteers? Can we look at healing like old traumas, core wounds, things like that? What kind of things can I help with?
Yeah, I mean, it can help with all of that. Um, Illnesses, I know Dolores had a lot of clients that would come with different illnesses, and trying to help self heal. And so there's that, there's the trauma, um, you know, all sorts of things, allergies. Yeah, sometimes you find out allergies, you would be surprised, could be connected and linked to a past life. So it just all depends. And, you know, it's just getting to the root cause. Basically, that's what it's there to do. So, like I said, during the sessions, I really have no control. I am just guiding the client. And so I don't know if I would find out if you were a third wave or not, because it just all depends on what you were to see. I actually had my own session today, and by somebody else, and it was pretty crazy. It was like I was in space and not on Earth. It was almost before, I think it was the way it seemed to me, it was almost before Earth was even existed. So it's pretty incredible. But so it just, you have no idea where you're going to go.
So with the QHHT, you tap into the higher self.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the people are just tuning in now. What is the higher self?
So the higher self is just basically your inner being, um, everybody has heard of intuition. So it's that all-knowing part of you. It's just that higher self is, it's like connecting to that divine aspect of yourself. The one that knows all, has all the knowledge, has all the insight, loves you infinitely, has nothing but love. And this, everybody should remember, the soul is all love. No, there's no good or bad, and we all come from the divine. We all come from, higher selves. So uh people have to just kind of remember that even if somebody might seem like a bad person, they do have that divine spark within them. They have a higher self too. And so it's just trying to tap into that during a
So
session.
so it sounds like you're really helping people help themselves. And
Exactly.
the fact that they can do it in just one appointment is amazing. That's
Yes.
going to get to the root of everything and really help the person help themselves. I love that. Do you
Yeah.
have any like testimonials or
I
anything
do.
that
I
you
didn't
can?
know if I should, it was kind of long, but one thing that I found to be fascinating is I had a client who was wearing I'm not really familiar, but she was wearing a Whoop, which is a watch that records certain your sleep patterns, your heart rate, and things like that. So after the session, um she had sent me two things. So during the session, the first, well, I think it lasted about an hour and 15, the whole hypnosis part. But the first half of the session, she was in light sleep, was recorded by the Whoop. And then the last about 35, 40 minutes was she was in REM sleep, but she was talking to me as if,
Like she
so
was
I, we,
awake.
yeah, yeah. So we both were kind of like, holy cow, because that's when we contacted her SC. And for anybody who doesn't know, SC is the subconscious, but you can also call it your higher self. But yeah, that's when somebody's in deep, and you're getting the answers coming from a higher being, which is yourself, but the higher being of self. And then the other thing too was she wanted healing for weight loss. And
I'll take some of
her
that.
so her heart rate variable, so her HRV, had consistently been in the mid 30s. And after that session, she was in the 50s for several days. And then I just reached out to her not too long ago, and she's in the 40s. But after she listens to her session, what you're supposed to do, you want to keep the healing going. So you would listen to your recording. It goes back into the 50s again. And so an HRV can indicate your overall fitness and health level. So the fact that it went up like it did into the 50s after the session, she also was just like, oh my God, this is really working. So, and she said she lost 7 pounds after that,
That's amazing. Yeah, that's like
yeah,
two forms of kind of tangible proof that you have that the QHHT really works. Now,
yeah.
let's say that, and I promise you guys, I will put a link in the description so that you can, if you're interested, you can definitely reach out to Sara. Um, Here's the thing. What if I want a session? What do I need to do to prepare? Is there anything on my part that I need to do?
So basically you want to do your own research, know what you're getting into so that you're kind of prepared. Maybe watch a video or two by Dolores. Just do your homework a little bit. Before a session, I always say set your intention. So you want to make sure that you're setting the intention of having a good session, and that you're open. It's kind of hard when somebody comes in that's a skeptic, or I had a couple like that where they're like, I can't go under. It's like, well, then why are we doing this? But they did. So um it's I think they get shocked themselves. But yeah, so setting intention is good. I try to have clients meditate beforehand or make a practice of it, at least short, maybe a couple weeks before coming, so that they can relax their mind, because a lot of times it's the conscious mind that comes in and blocks the
It's like that
subconscious.
reactive mind. You have
Yeah,
the mindset, I'm not going to go under. It's never going to work.
exactly.
I went to a whole hypnotherapy show, and they hypnotized the whole stage and I didn't go under, that kind of a thing. So
Right.
yeah, I think a lot of people have some preconceived notions about that, but I can just imagine the interesting stuff that comes out as a result of these sessions. So Dolores
Yeah,
Cannon did talk a lot about like ETs and stuff. Does any of that
mhm.
ever come out in session?
Yeah, I mean, I had one that was on a spacecraft, and she was an extraterrestrial.
Wow.
And yeah, describing, what she looked like. And um, it's each session, it can just be really incredible. It's almost like you're on a time travel with this person. And but yeah, what she described, she was on a spacecraft. And there were a lot of I can't even think of how, like, incubated little beings, little aliens. And
That's scary to think about. Incubated aliens. So like, do you think that they're mating with humans and like having hybrid babies and putting them in incubators instead of tummies? I guess.
from what I've learned from Dolores's books, yeah, they do that. But how, I mean, yeah, there's a lot in her books. I
Yeah.
don't know if have you read any of her books?
I have
I
not
don't.
read her books because
Okay.
I am lazy. I
Well,
admit
no.
it. It's my fault. I don't have that kind
Yeah,
of time. I wish I did.
no,
But
and her books are like 700 pages. So God love her, but I do Audible,
that's a good.
and I just do it like on my way to work and way home. But yeah, they're so the ETs, I mean, they're not, a lot of people fear them, but really they're not here to cause problems. They're actually here. They've kind of been here all along, really, if you think about it. Um, like Egypt. Uh, I had a session where she went to Egypt, and she was like one of the guards of
Wow.
yeah, and but she wasn't human. She had like a face of a dog, like a wolf, and she was massive, but yeah, kind of crazy. Like, it takes you all over the place. But
That's
um
weird. I was just watching a documentary. I play YouTube in the background when I'm working and doing other things. And that's where I got a lot of information about Dolores Cannon. I will link one of her videos down below for you guys so
mhm,
that you can listen to the same stuff I enjoy listening to. But one of the documentaries I was watching or listening to
mhm.
was on ancient Egypt, and they had is it
Yeah,
hieroglyphs,
hieroglyphics.
the
Yeah.
pictures in the pyramids. They had a somebody had a wolf head.
Yeah,
Like that was their head. It wasn't a
that's
mask. And I was like, wow, like
that's how she described herself. And she was one of the guards of Cleopatra.
I
And
wonder if she had to have a wolf head.
right. And she described herself as being very big, like giant. Um, but that she said that there was like portals to outer space, to so where they came back and forth, the UFOs and the ETs. Because when you think about it, I mean, how the heck did they have the knowledge to construct
Those pyramids.
something like, yeah, and being, lined up a certain way with solar systems? And I mean, it's just too much to go, oh yeah, that that was just done by man.
Yep.
Like, come
I
on.
do. It's a lot. So you're right. That sounds incredible.
Yeah, and the other things too is which a lot of I didn't know a lot about, but, you know, now knowing everything that I'm learning, but the lost city of Atlantis, Lemuria, all things that people want you to believe never happened or aren't real, maybe they could have been, So, and that was also, they say, at least Atlantis, the reason for it going under like it did is because they were doing things that they shouldn't have been, kind of just like in the 1940s when we were messing around with nuclear power, which nuclear power was never supposed to be used for destruction. It was supposed to be used for energy. And but once you go in that route of negativity, you can't really go back. So it's kind of the same thing with Atlantis.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, it
So
is.
it sounds like people can have a session and go into past lives and experiences, or where they were, where their soul, I know we're all a tiny point of consciousness, where our souls have been prior to being here. Do we ever
Exactly.
discover anything about like our purpose or what we're meant to do or mission in life? Anything like that we ever find out about?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the top questions. So when you come with your list of questions, that's usually like one of the first ones.
Oh, I get to make a
Is
list of questions.
yeah,
Cool.
you just make a list of questions. What's my purpose is usually number one. If the person's kind of like not sure. And then you can ask anything you want. And as long as we make contact with your higher self, your subconscious, they all get answered. You also do a body scan too, and that's where the healing of uh, physical and emotional issues can come into play. So the body scan is done, basically just head to toe, and the SC is just working to find anything that needs healing. And then we ask for the healing, and they keep going till they're done. So it's pretty cool.
So what kind of follow-ups, if I had a session and went through this, if I had any follow-up questions, how do I handle those?
So that would be, I mean, you could always have a second session. I mean, it's not to say that you can't have a second session. And a lot of Dolores's clients had, especially if she got one that was going back, like one of her first books was Five Lives Remembered. And that's how she started well, she did, and it was actually her husband who did the hypnosis in the beginning. And she was just kind of his assistant. But this woman, he was just supposed to help with, I think, her anxious eating or something to do with that. And instead of working with that, she slipped into a past life. And so they kept bringing her back for different sessions. But now I forgot what your question was. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
Oh,
okay.
the follow-up. Yeah, so
Yeah,
you
because I
could,
think like if I have a QHHT session, it sounds so incredible. I would have a hard time imagining that I would just have one
right.
because there's so
Once you
much to
open the
learn.
door, you kind of want to know more. Um, but then there's also too, I mean, the beauty of it is you can, if you meditate, if you take that quiet time, you are able to reach your higher self on your own as well. So it just all depends on the person and where they're at spiritually and um, how much they want to dive in.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. And thank you so much, Sarah. And hopefully we'll have
Thank
her
you.
back soon. And like I said, just check that description box. You can check out her website and how to get a QHHT session of your own. Sounds exciting. And then come
Thank
back
you.
in the comments and tell us, what did you learn? So we'll see you guys soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.